guys? It's Samnang, your host for the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. I'm a lifestyle and performance coach, hybrid athlete, and philosopher, and podcast host, and head coach. So I got a lot of stuff going on here, but what I'm really trying to do is work on being a better podcaster and just really bettering myself. That's the reason why I do this podcast. But in return of me doing this podcast, I get to serve my community. And that's the really exciting part about my journey is that uh, this is my mission and my purpose is to give back to my communities that have given me and supported me to where I am today. And everybody knows and understands, who know who I am. I'm passionate about personal development, fitness, nutrition, and spirituality. And this topic I wanted to talk about because I see this a lot because everybody sees me as this motivated person or this disciplined person. But there's different areas of your life where you can use motivation and discipline and understanding the fundamental difference between what these two things are will help you in your journey of figuring out if there's some like certain tools or there's certain things that you need to do when you get to like certain points where you're running out of motivation or you might rely on discipline. And for me, I have some years of experience on figuring out what motivation and discipline is and doing research and putting this podcast together. So it's a longer format podcast that you could get a lot and come back to it often. So I hope you do come back often to it. But this podcast is to talk about the differences and misconceptions about motivation versus discipline because there's real thought behind it and how you could actually use habits to change things. So just share a little bit of my experience. I've been in weight training for 24 years now and personal development. I read a few books and been very committed to my own personal development. And so I got some years of experience and some insight to share with you guys. So I'm excited about it. This podcast is specifically for folks that are lacking that energy, that motivation, that kind of vision to kind of stick to the plan. If you've been into programs like personal development programs or gone to courses or anything where you had an idea of what success looks like and what the time commitment took, but you just never really stuck to the plan. You just fell through because you lost motivation, just because you didn't see any results or anything. So hopefully this podcast helps inspires you to get back on the train and really learn or get back on it and try again, right? Part of personal development is just fucking trying again. So try again, repetition over and over and over. But I'm excited for this one. Tell your friends about it if they like this type of content. It's gonna be actionable, full of information. Hopefully it's valuable. Hopefully it's fun at the same time. Try to make it fun and but yes, get excited for this one. All right, let's get started in the show or the episode. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about motivation. This is what everybody, I think, where they get started, they listen to a podcast, they read a book, they go to a seminar. This is the type of energy that you get when you get motivated, right? It's an energy, it's a source that comes from doing something from yourself. Remember when you listen to a podcast, you chose to do that. You chose to go to a seminar. You chose to read a book. So that motivation is going to come from the inside. And it's actually what's going to motivate you in those like for you to start going to the gym and start doing those actions and stuff. It comes from your inner desires and your aspirations. When we talk about your inner desires and aspirations and stuff, a lot of us have very similar aspirations, guys. It's to be recognized, to feel good, to feel smart, to feel, or to have money, to feel success, to have these certain feelings and desires and aspirations. We all have them, right? But the ones that are able to express those, they're able to put it in the air and actually make those happen. So it was a side story from that is that sometimes your aspirations, you do want to let people know about it, because that's going to help inspire other people and help them tell you how to, or get their support. So that's another way that I get motivation. But motivation is an extremely powerful force for you to get started on something. And purpose of this podcast is for you to just get started on something, right? If you've been listening to the message, if you've been resonating with what I've been saying about raising and elevating the collective vibrations and stuff, where you can start to be more productive, you can start be living a more fulfilling life. That's a force, right? It's an external force that you hear, and then that gets you moving, right? So there's two types of forces out there. We're going to talk about intrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation comes from within. It comes from personal satisfaction, and it comes from joy from doing activities. An example for me, if you could see, intrinsic motivation is learning how to podcast, being a better public speaker, putting uh, podcast frames or show notes, and marketing it, right? It's enjoying, it's fulfilling, it's challenging at the same time, right? And then intrinsic motivation, it comes from external rewards or pressures. Example is working hard to earn a promotion or to receive praise and recognitions from others. Okay, so that's something that is extrinsic. So when people give you the thumbs up, they talk about your podcast, or they share it with your podcast, and they tell you what they like and stuff about the podcast or whatever project that you're working on. Like if you've been working out and you're starting to post some inspirational messages on your Facebook. So I have some members and community members that do that. They get the applause, they get the appraisal. So that's extrinsic motivation. And the intrinsic motivation comes from the inside, right? And those, if you have both, it's fantastic. It's great, right? But not all the time. You don't have motivation all the time. So another point to come across for like motivation is that the source of motivation kind of ebbs and flows depending on like how you're going, or how your progress is going. So some source for motivation is your personal goals, right? When we talk about personal development, it's you. What type of goals do you have for yourself, whether it's in the physical fitness realm, what type of body you want, how much money you want, what type of relationships you want. And then your ambitions. Everybody's ambitions are different. Not everybody wants to be a professional bodybuilder, a motivational speaker, right? Everybody has their own ambitions that they want, right? They want to be a successful entrepreneur. They want to be a successful mom, successful athlete or coach, right? Everybody has different things that they want. And then some ideas for inspiration. There's, if you're open and looking for it, if your mind is in tune for growth, like hopefully this podcast kind of helps you open your mind for like being more growth minded. You will start to look for things that will force you to grow. And some of the content that I consume, and this is just from my own personal experience, is obviously everybody knows I love books. I don't read as much as I used to, but I've read over like 250 books. That has given me a lot of inspiration. Uh, Movies, right? Some people watch movies in a way where it's just for entertainment, but if you watch it for inspiration and try to imprint those movies in your mind, you could create metaphysic movies based on some of the inspiration. So that's just an idea. Podcast. This podcast is inspiration, so it gives you some ideas. Other podcasts is interpersonal development. You got Dean, you got my boy Just Be Humans. There's other podcasts that are very similar like this, but you might resonate with a different podcast host. Their message might resonate more with than mine. So there's different areas, but definitely search for it. Videos, quotes, motivation videos, things that I do on Instagram. So I have Instagram where I do little motivational clips, and then some social influence. This is a good one. So social influence, you, right, have the ability to get this influence out to other people, but you actually have to put yourself out there because nobody knows how to support you unless you say something or start doing something. But if you start doing something that is towards your dreams, like if you wanted to be a podcaster or you wanted to start a business and you start to speak it, people are going to support you, right? You're going to find people that will support you. Some might not know how to support you. That's honest truth. Some people don't know how to support entrepreneurs, and but your influence, your social network and stuff will be a great source of influence to you guys. So the next thing, guys, we're gonna talk about discipline. This is where so from personal experience, I used to run a lot on motivation where I would get like a whole bunch of like thumbs up and roo-roos and wow-wows and let's goes and that. But during the pandemic, a lot of people started struggling. Not only other people, just myself as well too. So I wasn't really getting that type of energy that I needed from my spouse, from my family members and coworkers. So I started feeling like I was losing a lot of like momentum and not making progress and things. And for me, I had to resort a lot to transition from using motivation just to strictly discipline. Well, I do get motivated as well now, but I understand what motivation is versus what discipline is. Discipline is more sustainable. It's definitely harder. It takes a little bit more mental capacity, bandwidth to become disciplined. But we're going to talk about discipline. So hopefully this helps you in this area of understanding the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is a lot of energy. Discipline is a practice of training oneself to follow a set of rules or a code of behavior, often using self-control and willpower. It's about maintaining consistency in actions and habits, even when motivation is low. Discipline involves making decisions that align with long-term goals rather than succumbing to short-term pleasures or distractions. Damn! Shit was heavy, it was dense, right? That's what discipline is, right? Discipline is not once in a while. It's all the time, right? The reason why people get what they get is because they're disciplined. They're not doing it once in a while. It is every day, right? If you're a professional athlete, you're doing something every day to make progress towards your goals, right? If you want to become a professional athlete, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a full-time entrepreneur, right? That has to be every day. You have to be practicing your skills. You have to be building your business. You have to be networking. You have to be communicating. You have to be business development. You have to be taking coaching courses. You better be learning new things. You better be teaching new things. You better be coaching other people. Discipline involves focusing on your long-term goals, and big reason why a lot of people don't have discipline is because they don't have a vision or goals or what they're looking for to happen in their life, and they just kind of fall short of it. There's so many times where I've coached people and they just say, I want to just lose 10 pounds before the beach. That is a short-term goal. It might work, but then you just go back into like regular routine and habits and stuff, and it doesn't change anything. So part of our coaching is to change discipline, change your mindset, and reframe that around that. All right, cool. So let's talk about some habits. So habits and discipline, those are what relates. That's what they're related. It's a lot of habits, right? It's a lot of doing the same thing over and over again. That's why anybody that becomes a master requires about 10,000 hours of mastery. It's over and over and over, which can be done in martial arts, bodybuilding, music, art, reading, anything, something that is specifically designated to developing discipline. But that discipline needs to translate outside of just that one, little project is. So that's how it works. So habits are behaviors that are performed regularly and automatically with little conscious thought. It's creating and sticking to a routine that helps embed discipline actions into daily life, consistency and accountability. Discipline requires consistent effort and a commitment to ongoing practice. Accountability, whether through self monitoring or support from others, it reinforces disciplined behaviors. And some tools that you can use are planners, habit trackers, accountability partners that can help maintain discipline. All right. So let's talk a little bit about habits. Habits, those are the small things that we do every day that we kind of unconsciously do, right? So the like brushing your teeth, that's unconscious. Once everybody does their bed, it's kind of like an unconscious thing. Sometimes people don't do their bed, right? But those small things, they do add up. And I think there's that famous Navy admiral. He talks about if you want to, run a be a millionaire, start with making your bed. And there's some truth to behind these small little habits and stuff, because small habits add up over time, add up during the day, right? Those small reps in the gym, they add up. They don't not add up. It's something that's being added to the tally, to the score, right? So those are positive habits that you're stacking in the right direction. Sometimes you don't stack habits, you don't go anywhere. So you want to stack habits in the right direction. So the more wins that you have, even if they're small, of just like doing a check, or checking off a list and everything, but those are small habits will build up over a long time, like learning how to cook, learning how to meal prep, learning how to grocery shop, right? Those are habits. And learning how to make a meal consistently, and trying to make those better every day, right? So that's how you become consistent and accountable. It's just by doing it every day, right? Incrementally, just a little bit better each day. So try not to forget it. Thank you guys for watching the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. So I want to take a moment and take a break from the show and thank you for being a part of our community. So I'm the head coach at Peak Performance Academy, and I want to talk about how you guys could support the channel and how we could support you as well too. So if you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe and share it with your thoughts. Leave a review with some feedback and let us know what you enjoy about the show. Your review helps the algorithm and gets our message out to more people. So here's how we could support you guys in your personal growth. So we have a coaching community called Peak Performance Academy, where I'm the head coach. We offer live coaching calls and lifestyle packages as well too. So if you need additional support in these areas of your life, please book a discovery call with us. We look forward to hearing from you and look forward to working with you. And also, if you are a fan of the Flow In, Flow Out podcast and you resonate with the message, and if you have an inspiring story to share, anything that you want to get out there that's going to help elevate the collective vibrations, we welcome you. Just let me know, send me an email, send me a comment, and then we'll get you scheduled on to the show. So we look forward to having you, and we love and appreciate all the support that have you been giving to our the Flow In, Flow Out podcast and the Peak Performance Academy community. In personal development, how do we use motivation versus discipline? Okay. So, like I said earlier, motivation is very energy based, right? It's a little excitement, like when I get the seminar or listen to the podcast, get the good inspiration and stuff. Then you get at it, right? It's a short term kind of little boost. That's what motivation is. So understand what the difference that is. It's short term, right? Which is good. Sometimes you just need to kick yourself in the ass and just listen to some hard shit and just go to the gym and get after it to kind of just spark something, right? You're think of it as a fire where you're adding like these like small little kindling and then adding match, right? That little motivation, the fire is going to be hot in the beginning. All right, and then discipline. As we were talking about a fire, think about the fire as like these embers. They're gonna be like low and slow. They're gonna be there, but they're still very, very effective. Like you could cook on low embers and stuff, but discipline, think of it as a long-term strategy. That's why it's very important to actually think and have long-term goals. Without any long-term goals, we can't sustain discipline. We don't even know what discipline is if we actually don't have long-term goals. So the next thing is motivational is very emotional, energy based, right? That's why it's tied to emotions and feelings, which is it's good, right? You want to understand your feelings. You want to know when you are feeling motivated and feeling inspired, you are going to want to do stuff, right? You're going to be creative. You're going to be more productive when you're in a higher vibrational state. And because that's a feeling, right? It's a great feeling. But guys, that feeling doesn't last forever. You start to have to become more reliant on discipline. Discipline is just rational, just being you have something that you need to do and you just get it done, right? Just get it done. That's what the end of uh the short term of what discipline is. Let's talk about how sustainable and how reliable it is. Both are a source to get work done, to get productivity, but you cannot solely rely on motivation. And that's what I was doing earlier in my younger 30s. I'm now 38, but I was relying a lot on just motivation of listening to books and getting the woo woos from my friends and my community members. And when I wasn't getting that, and I was still trying to rely on that, I was getting burnt out because I just wasn't getting it. And I wasn't able to provide the type of creation and content and be as productive when I was relying just solely on motivation. But after doing a lot of personal development work, after working with the therapist and NLP practitioner, and doing some shadow work, I learned to install a lot more disciplined habits into my subconscious by doing a lot of meditation and just relying on discipline. It's a lot more logic when you rely on discipline. So yeah, so some of those moments and stories, some of you guys might be dealing with those too, right? I'm sure you guys could relate. I'm an entrepreneur, and I got goals, fitness goals, right? When you get started, you're excited. You can see what the potential is. You get the hope, you get the coach, you get the plan, and then you start working on it. But there's going to be a time where it just hits you and like life's going to hit you. It's going to become very overwhelming. You're become less excited about the gains. You're going to see less gains. You're going to see less progress. But at the end of the day, guys, we just have to resort to disciplined action, right? Disciplined action for the long term, right? We're talking about long term goals, talking about lifestyle changes. The disciplined action is more important. It's like the 80-20 rule. When you see the iceberg, you only see 20% of it. That's motivation, right? When you excited and stuff, you good, right? When you get that idea, you put that vision board together, you put that manifesto together, and you ready to rock and roll. That's motivation. But that 80%, that underneath that iceberg, that's discipline. That's where we want to pay most of our attention on. But yeah, I'm sure you guys have stories that you could relate about motivation and discipline. Share some of my stories and what I do. Some habits that I do, and you guys follow me on Instagram. You guys can see what it is. But for me, the anchor is working out, is training. Because without working out and training, I'm not myself. That for me, that's my priority. That is like almost like my foundation. It's a non-negotiable to not work out, because I noticed that if I do not work out, everything else kind of sucks. in my life. There's no discipline, there's no energy, there's no management of my mindset, my hormones and everything. So it's kind of off if I do not gym. And gym for me is extremely important. Uh, but let's talk about balancing discipline and motivation. So some techniques to boost motivation. We're talking about vision boards. You guys love vision boards. I know you guys love vision boards. I'm not so much of a vision board kind of guy. I'm just kind of like, write what I want to do and get it done, and then just get it done. But maintaining discipline, habits, having people around you that support your habits too, right? People, friends, coaches, mentors, and then finding the right balance between motivation and discipline is extremely important, guys, because going between back and forth between motivation and discipline, especially when you're an ambitious person, if you got a lot of goals and stuff, learning how to maneuver and trying to strategize between going between motivation and discipline can be challenging at times. So I think for my recommendation, if you want to find some balance between this and like your life goals, is to sometimes just not do anything. Sometimes we get so caught up in like go, shoot podcasts, shoot, build this business, go to the gym and make all this money and stuff. But the other side of motivation and discipline is finding the balance. And sometimes it's just about doing nothing, right? Sometimes when you just do nothing, a lot of the right answers come to you, right? You don't have to stay and get motivated, external motivation, and build these discipline. When you sit and think about and really meditate and think about this is where you find balance between the two, motivation and discipline, and like hustle and grind and being ambitious, is to find that opposite balance, right? Me as a philosopher, I want to wrap this up with like a thought of like, when we're grinding, we also have to find a reason why we're doing these things. Is it fulfilling us? Is it fulfilling our mission? Is it fulfilling our gratitude or happiness cup? So that's something to think about. But that's it, guys. That's the end of the podcast. I was excited to put that one together. Hope it was fun and inspirational for you guys. If you guys have any comments about coaching calls or anything, I'm available for coaching calls. So that's the difference between motivation and discipline, guys. That is something that has been on my mind, and I'm glad I put this podcast out, so it helps. But at the end of the day, I know you guys aren't going to completely listen to it, so I do offer coaching services so I can instill this and yell at you every day and tell you the difference between motivation and discipline. But I appreciate you guys listening to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, and the support has been amazing. I love podcasting. It's my new favorite passion project, and as you can tell, I'm super excited about it. But tell your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, comment on it, share. If you have any interest in being a guest to tell like an inspiring story about personal development or your journey, or you have something, a mission that you want to share with our community, if it aligns with our values and stuff, I would love to have you on here at Flow In, Flow Out podcast. And this is Samnang, your host of the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. And thank you guys for watching. And I love you guys. Bye-bye.